something that's very important. It's called the algorithm. You hear it all the time now. Most people only associate the algorithm with the computer and with the phone and what it's pulling, what the internet's pulling back towards you. If they're now searching for boots, we're looking at boots all the time. Well, guess what our ads gonna start throwing us? Boots. You open that phone, I don't care what site you're on, it's gonna be a little ad somewhere from Tecovas, from Eric, if somebody's throwing you some boots. Because that algorithm on the phone is saying, hey, this is what he's been searching and looking at and thinking about. Well, there's a bigger algorithm, and there's one in here, in the universe. We're all connected to a higher source. You have the power to attract. There's laws. There's books about it. It's talked about all the time, biblically and beyond, laws of attraction. Your algorithm will start to pull to you what you do mostly. There's another word for what you do a lot of. That's what you do frequently. What you do frequently is your frequency because that's all it is. And if you're on that frequency, you tuned into that channel, guess what you're going to be picking up all the time? You're telling your antenna to bring it. Bring it. Bring it. So if you can get to a point where you can start to cut all that out and focus and meditate on what it is you actually want to do, what you're actually trying to do, if you can focus on that, now you're gonna start to attract everything that you need to get that done versus attracting more distraction. I tried to leave it alone, but I just couldn't do it. Don't want much back on the loan, just what I put into it. It took a step to begin, now I'm a foot into it. They say it starts from within, I had to look into it. Now I'm illuminated, a whole book into it. Jumped in the water with greatness and set my hooks into it. Me and the man in the mirror was all it took to do it. And life's window is clear now when I'm looking through it.
All I do is I start back at the top at excitement.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that situation I'm in, I'm frustrated about it. Reality didn't just set in. Now I start going to the grass is green on the other side. And the grass may be greener. But maybe it won't. But and let's say it's a false excitement. Like you think this is something that's going to excite you and get you back going. This is it. It's a false excitement. And then you start back at the top at excitement. Excitement only lasts for about 4 to 6 weeks. So we already 4 to 6 weeks. And after the excitement go, you back into frustration and reality.
Yeah.
And then after that third one, you start looking for alternatives. The grass is greener, man. Got to be better somewhere else. False excitement. But the key is the recommitment. That's the fourth level, the recommitment. And there's a couple things that's important with you recommitting whatever that is you're doing. Number one is being able to have the right people in your life. Rumble strips. Somebody's like, hey, man, you getting too far over here. You tripping. I think the situation you in, it ain't that bad. You probably need to stay in this.
Mm-hmm.
Give it another try. Second one is looking at your short-term goals, like getting back to like, man, what was my goals about this? My goals, what I wanted to accomplish, what I wanted to do. And the third one is remembering your why. As one of my partners said, your why motivates you and you can't motivate yourself.
Yeah.
We'll dive
Sometimes a good farmer do is if he got cattle grazing, he got a big pasture. It's kind of too big for the ones he has. Instead of him letting them overgraze, what he'll do is pop them another fence down the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they graze this down, grass is green over there. As they grazing this, though, they also depositing manure on it, which is fertilizer, right? So while they're excited about it, that 4 to 6 weeks, they've been to graze it down a little bit, but they also fertilize it. All I'm going to do is recommit them to another side where this was green. When they leave that, guess what's happening back over here where they fertilize? It's getting green again. Now you're manipulating it. Your mind is like the cattle, right? If I can just repurpose some stuff, rearrange some stuff, I'm always making greener grass over here. But while I'm eating, I'm also fertilizing this grass here. So now that I'm over here, I'm jumping over here. It's almost like rotating your tires, right? Certain tires are getting more wear on them than others because of weight distribution and all these different things. So when you take your car in to get service, every once in a while they'll rotate them. Same tires. Now, every once in a while you need a brand new set, but you can get by on one set longer if you learn to repurpose, recommit, rearrange where they are. And then that can get you a little further on. With that being said, we're back with another brand new episode of the L.I.T Code Podcast with Edgar Jones. A podcast where the menu is short and sweet, but there's plenty for your mind to eat. I am Courtney Anderson, aka Big C. We're glad to be back because this is something that we've actually repurposed, rearranged. We've brought it back out to help us get reps in, to help us fertilize our grass, right? We jumped into some other things. We kind of let this sit for a while, but now we're back on it. And what it's done is we've been talking about stages of attitude, stages of growth. What it's done is it's reignited that excitement, right? Our last episode, we talked about the power of new, what it does to you, what state of mind it puts you in, and what you can do if you can fix your mind to manipulate that newness by rearranging what you already have or putting yourself in new adverse situations, how you can keep yourself in a certain stage of growth. Which brings us to today's subject, because as you're in this, in these stages of growth, and as you are manipulating the power of new, there are some things that can knock you off course. We call those things distractions, right? And the word dis, that prefix means away. Tracked, distract. It sounds like the first part of tractor because it literally means to pull. So the word distract historically always meant to pull away. So I'm on course. Now I need to pull away. Now what are some distractions? Some distractions can be finances. It could be family. It could be work. It could be a number of things. But one of the main things, it's actually kind of a double standard, because one of the main things that can distract you is social media and what we're asking you to be on to watch us, right? It can distract you because what the internet does is it gives you full reign to all the stuff you don't need and all the stuff you do need, right? But the thing about us, we're light and dark beings. It's very hard, no matter how disciplined you are, to have full access to this wealth of wrong and right and not pick wrong. Wrong is easy to pick. It's easy to pick ice cream, a caramel sundae over salad. Easy. Easy to pick some fried chicken over some baked tilapia or something. You smell that frying in there, the aroma's different. Your eyes see it, it's golden, brown, and flaky. I'm probably heading that way. I don't care who you are. That's just how life works on us, right? That other side of us is just as much of us as the light side is, or the righteous side, or the side that does the right things. And it's easier. It takes more work to do things a certain type of way. So one of the main things that can distract you is social media. And the reason being is because it gives you access to another word that we're going to use today, and that's comparison. The word com, the C-O-M, same as con, it just means with. It means like you have to have two parties and you bring them together. My golf fans, the last part of that word, pair, comes from the word par, which means equal. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to bring two things together and make them equal. Problem is, we're all so much different, right? And on social media, most people are posting their highlight reel. Elgin can tell you about a highlight reel. It comes in handy nowadays if you're trying to get recruited. Maybe your contract up with one team, you need to show off to another team. You'll put together a string of your best plays, right? Elgin knows, because he played on a professional level, that those best plays come 2-3 times a game, right? The rest of the time, you're probably mediocre, or you may be great, but there's some bad stuff out there too, but you're just not showing it. So now you're living in your own life. You know you're good, bad, and ugly. You're comparing it to a highlight reel, right? When you do that, it's another word, you get frustrated, distracted, because frustration is a distraction too, and it pulls you off track from where you were trying to go because you're using somebody else's highlight tape to add yourself up against. You want to be equal, but there's really no way you can be equal to that because they're not showing you everything. And even if they did, we're just like fingerprints. We're so different. So how do you beat it? How do you defeat comparison? I would say you would go to a word that I distinguish, right? That word actually meant to kind of separate by pricking. Stink meant to prick. So you need to actually prick what's good about you or what you do best. You need to pinpoint it, pinpoint. Let me pinpoint what I do well. Let me concentrate on that. So now I'm distinguishing myself instead of trying to compare myself. Now I'm putting myself on a whole new playing field instead of putting myself against something that I never win at. Let me just pick the good parts, right? Let me lean into those first, and then let me have a nice, honest conversation with myself about what I don't do well, right? But what I'm riding on is what I do well. Let's start there. So instead of comparison or comparing, try to be distinct, pick, separate yourself from that. And then you just have a real honest conversation about what I do well and what I don't do well, and not putting that against anybody else. You got 1 million people you're looking at on social media. Like I always said, complexity is the enemy of progress. You can also have paralysis by analysis. You're trying to compare yourself to thousands of people. Let's just break this down and compare me to me. My good traits versus my bad traits, right? Now that separates me from a crowd. Now I'm one-on-one with self, and that's the only enemy that really matters. It's the only person you need to be going against. So today, that's what we're talking about: distraction, comparison. We'll pass this back to my buddy Edgar Jones. It's good to see y'all.
Talking about today, that's what we talking about. Like he just brought you one chicken nugget out. Boy, you just offered them 20 chicken nuggets. Man, that boy just hit y'all with a mouthful in 3.5 minutes. I don't know. Golly, boy. Hey, man, come back. Talking about today, that's what we talking about. Hey, man. Hey. Ooh, yeah, boy, yeah. Come back. Boy, you cold. You broke down 5 different words, the Latin definition, the English definition, and the African definition of what it is. Then you gave a whole analogy around it. Man, you cold, boy. Come back. Hey, man. We are the L.I.T Code. Illuminated the thought. You start letting folks sign waivers, man. I told you, man. You gotta start making folks sign waivers when they listen to this right here, man. Somebody's head can literally explode just processing everything you just said. But no, that's man, that's what I love about you. God, boy. I'm trying to think of here. Tell me, welcome back, Ed. You got it. Oh, I got it right now. I'm trying to think about what you just said. But the great thing about it, hey man, it's nothing like having the right people in your life that sharpen your tools and make you better. Plastic don't sharpen iron. I know that. And you can't compare F-250 to a BMW. There's a need for both. So it's always cool to hear how you're able to break things down and dissect words to like what this really means. Because I know for me at times there's been words, man, I've saw and I thought it meant this, but when you go deeper into it, it's like you can peel the layer back on actually what that really truly does mean. So at first, I mean, distractions is everything. And this is timely because we're in the playoff season. NFL playoffs is going on right now. Actually, the college playoffs is going on right now as well. And, with my 7 years playing in the league, I've been fortunate enough to play in a lot of different playoff games. AFC championships, Ravens against the Steelers, against the Colts, a lot of great teams. And here's what I know. There's 2 things that NFL teams do when they get to the playoffs. Extremely important when they get into the playoffs. And I would say these really apply. What they do also applies to our personal life as well. We can take that and apply it to our personal lives as well. First thing is recovery. Actually, when we get into the playoffs, we spend more time doing less on the field as far as just going full speed all the time. Obviously, you're late in the season, injuries. You want to make sure you keep your players healthy. But we spend a lot of time doing walkthroughs. We spend a lot of time, more time studying film, assessing. But recovery is preached quite a bit. So while there is a time for us to go, they actually are emphasizing recovery tours more than anything during the playoff time. And right now, as you pursuing those goals, if you're going hard or you grinding, whatever you want to call it, the recovery part of it is just as important because you cannot continue to perform at a high level and be efficient at a high level if you're not taking time to rest and recharge, which we talked about that word, rest and recharge. And I would also add the A in it, rest, recharge, and assess. So as you chasing your goals, as you're doing the things you need to do to accomplish your dreams, being able to assess it every day or every other day. Hey, how's this going? What have I been experiencing? What's some of the challenges I'm having? Who do I know out there that's doing this that I could pick up the phone and call and talk to get some advice? That's being able to assess it. So first thing NFL playoff teams are doing is they're spending more time resting and recharging. Second thing is NFL teams understand this. Their competition isn't their enemy, their distractions are. Their competition isn't the enemy, the distractions are. So rather than them worrying about what the media is saying, the external noise, even during that time in the playoffs, it's easy to get caught up in what family is saying, what family is talking about as well. Now that it's playoffs, you got more people in your circle, or maybe out of your circle that may know you, or they know somebody that's in your family, they're trying to get a ticket to their game. So the great players and the great organizations and the great teams understand the importance of I need to limit my distractions as much as I possibly can. Because if I'm limiting my distractions on this side, boom, I can focus on this side, focus on the other side and what I exactly need to do. So before I get into just the tips of blocking out distractions, things that we both practice in our life, the question I would ask you is, what has your attention right now? And what is it that's distracting you? And whatever it is that may be distracting you, grabbing your attention, is it helping you out? Or is it taking you further away from your goal and what you're trying to accomplish? And then also with that, how could you limit your distractions? But we're gonna give you some tips though. We'll give you a couple tips, a couple things we do in practice.
Yeah, so Edgar talked about the playoffs, about the different teams in the playoffs, how they limit distractions. They concentrate on rest and recovery more. And one thing they also do is the playbook shrinks. Because now what took you there can also kind of hurt you now, because if I got too many plays, that means we're not spending enough time perfecting the ones that we know work, our bread and butter. It's me earlier talking about distinguishing yourself. What do you do well? Let's concentrate on that, what we do well. Let's hone that in. We don't need too many wrinkles. The playbook gets smaller because now what we need to do is focus. That's all that we're talking about when you distinguish yourself. You make the playbook more distinguished, you make it more distinct. Less is more at this time, right? So that's one of the things you can do to help them just get rid of what you don't need, right? Discard what you don't need. Back in the day, if a plane was running out of fuel, what they would start doing was they would start casting stuff overboard. Dead weight that they didn't really need, unless it was essential, they got rid of it. So the plane, now the engine don't have to work as hard. It burns less fuel, so now we can make it to where we need to get to, right? So when they're going into these playoff games, their playbook's getting smaller. The packages are getting smaller. You see it in the NBA all the time. NBA playoffs, when they were playing with 11 guys, maybe they're only going to play with 8 now. These other guys probably not going to get many minutes because we need it to be. It's going to be based on matchup too. That's the other thing. Sometimes the situation dictates what you actually discard. The situation that you're in says, okay, hey, this team runs the ball a lot. The linebacker that usually doesn't get many reps, he didn't get many reps last week because we were in a big against a big pass team. Now he's going to get more reps. One of these nickels, he's going to get less, right? But in order for that to happen, you have to be extremely aware. You have to have awareness of what you do well and also what you're going into, right? Because you don't want distractions and comparison to start to impair your vision. Because it's all about vision, it's all about focus, right? You've ever heard anybody say they had impaired vision, impaired breathing? It just means to make worse inside. So my vision is impaired. Something's blocking it. I can't see as well. I can't focus as well. Back home, I have horses. We had a foal last year, and I was in town right before Egg and I recorded a video there, and I was trying to get a video of the foal, baby horse, for people who don't speak country boy. I'm trying to get a picture of it, but what's happening is it's summertime, so there's bees flying around, there's birds. His mama keeps coming in the frame, and what my camera's doing on my phone is it's blurring, and then it's getting back clear. Every time something moves through it, blurs, gets back clear, right? So most of these new phones, you'll see a little circle start to pop up. It's trying to focus. So much around it is trying to focus. What I tell you earlier about the last part of distinct or sting was meant to prick or press. So if you press your finger on that circle, on whatever it is you're trying to get focused on, what it'll do is it'll tell all these lenses, focus on this, right? That's cutting out everything else that's around, all the distractions, everything that's floating around. Focus on this. Once I held my finger on it, I got a clear picture of it, right? That's what we're trying to get you to do by mitigating or by lessening your distractions and lessening your comparisons. I talked about doing what you do well, right? We've seen last year, AFC Championship game. I'm a Ravens fan. They played against Kansas City. They ran the ball 2 running backs 8 times. If anybody's been watching football the last few years, they know that what the Ravens do well is run the ball. What happened was they had a great defense last year, and Mahomes came out and they scored first. Right now, there's a brand new offensive coordinator on the Ravens side. When he looks across the field, he's comparing himself to Andy Reid. Andy just scored first. Damn it, I got to do something. Right? Now their comparison automatically, man, they got Mahomes, they got Kelsey, they got Andy. Well, I need to do something different. And they went away from what they do well because everybody knows the Ravens probably need to run the ball about 30 times a game. 9 ain't going to cut it. They didn't end up winning. They were close by doing something different. But if they would have did what they did well, they probably would have won. Comparison, distractions, got them off of what they do well into doing something else. And one thing you don't want to do in the middle of the situation is start going on the fly, right? What you do well is your baseline. That's what you want to stick to. At the end of their careers, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, they turned their back to you and they got their fadeaway off. It was probably money. They wasn't necessarily driving and dunking on people no more, skying through the air and all that stuff. What they knew they could do well was get some separation with the back, spin off of you, fade away, money. That's what they worked on. Thousands of shots a day after practice. What did I do well? There were other people coming up, Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter's, that's doing all this crazy stuff. If Kobe starts to compare himself to these guys at the time, he don't do what he do well because he's trying to do something that he used to do. It's all about the situation, though. He got to a point where he couldn't do that anymore. So now let me repurpose. I still got something. You know what I'm saying? Let me recommit to this jump shot, and this is gonna work for me on the back end. So that's my advice to you. Focus. Less is more. Trim those away. Focus in on what you do well. Continue to make yourself distinguished.
Man, it's amazing too about, anytime I think about my life when I've been totally focused on the external world and what's going on, man, how I end up feeling too. I mean, I really paid attention to me focusing in on everything else that's going on outside of me. I'm constantly looking at the news. I'm constantly scrolling through social media. I'm constantly just always picking up my phone because I would take it a step further. You can not be on social media and just be distracted solely by your phone, playing apps all day, looking at YouTube. I mean,
Yeah.
so many. It's a lot of different ways you can be distracted on your phone without social media. What I found though is when I'm constantly giving my attention to the external world and what's going on, I'm usually feeling lesser than. I'm usually feeling like crap. I'm not feeling well because there's no balance. There's no seesaw that's balanced. Like it's either gonna be on this side or this side. And if I'm constantly giving my attention to the external and I'm being distracted by that, then that means I'm taking away from something. So I look at it as, and when I think about it in my life, if I've solely been focused on the external, then that means, and what has happened is, I've taken away time from me focusing in on my internal, my peace, my spirit, getting back in sync internally, because I'm so focused on the external. I'm so focused on the external, and that's the whole power in some of these things that we talk about, whether it's sitting, taking time to sit in the morning, is taking time to sit down and write. The importance of writing is, yes, it gives you a chance to write down your thoughts and what's going on, but it also gives you a chance to let your brain slow down as well. I don't think it's human possible to write as fast as your brain is thinking. Like, so there's a part of when you're writing, you're writing, it's also making your brain slow down as well. So if I'm constantly focusing in on the external, then that's mean is it's taking away from the internal. And one of the first things I say when it comes to limiting distractions is, let's start with what we do. We wake up in the morning. We all wake up. And typically the normal thing that most people do, I do it. I've been guilty of doing it. And that is picking up the phone. First thing, you know, picking up the phone. Pick up the phone before we said good morning to anybody. Pick up the phone while I brush my teeth, picked up their phone. So for me, this is one thing I do. I also know I got a good friend today. He actually puts his phone in another room. He put his phone in the kitchen, so now he's having to make that extra effort to go get it. And if he's making an extra effort to go get it, that also means he's been a little bit more thoughtful about why he shouldn't go get it as well. So for me, the first thing I in the morning when I get up is not picking my phone up. Just giving myself time, because I know once I pick that phone up and I start clicking, I'm gonna open the floodgates up, dog. So maybe that's you putting your phone in another room. Maybe it's just you having enough discipline to say, hey, when I get up in the morning, the first 30 minutes, I'm not picking up my phone. And for me, that's one of the things I do in the morning. I don't pick it up. What you got, Conrad?
Yeah. So basically, the key to reprogramming something is deprogramming. And what we've all done, and the people who sell these phones and sell these applications did a great job of it. They marketed to us that we need this phone. And and why do we? They put if you're into religion, they put your religious text on the phone, your bank accounts, uh, all of your contacts, your calendar, everything is there. So your life, and it's has its pros and cons, right? It's a catch-22. It's organized in one place. I can pay bills, I can transfer money, I can make sure my kid's appointment to the doctor set, I can pre-check them out of school. I can do all these things on this phone. So it's so connected to you that when you wake up, usually that's the thing that's pulling you first to see what I need to do, right? This is something that's been the hardest thing for me in my life, is to try not to think too far ahead, right? Because really all you got is right now. It's good. It's good to have a plan in place. It's good. But when you first wake up, what I try to do is focus on right now, part of your egg. What am I grateful for? As soon as I wake up, just try to give reverence. Whatever you believe, whatever you do, give reverence. Be thankful to wake up and breathe, right? I've shared this story before, but the way my wife decorated the room, there's a heart-shaped mirror right to the side of the bed. So when I raise up, after I sit for a second, give reverence, I look in that mirror, I'm seeing myself, my reflection, and no matter how rough I look, I tell myself a few good things about myself. Tell myself that I can overcome anything that I may face. Tell myself I'm the greatest, because I am. I'm the greatest according to that you're going to have me, because I'm the only one, right? So I tell myself that. Now I'll get my hygiene together. If I'm doing good, all I've done to the phone is swipe dismiss on my alarm, because that's the other thing they put on it, right? Now I had been doing a good job, but it broke. I had an alarm clock, so so I wouldn't have to touch the phone first. But if I'm doing well, I can swipe that phone, put it in my pocket, go into the bathroom, do what I got to do, come out, and then I usually don't grab it again until I get in the truck. When I do grab it, it's so that I can put something funny on, because I like to start my day laughing, right? But what you want to try to do is be in the present as much as you can at that point. Whatever you have to get to in the day, guess what? It's coming anyway. So you don't have to try to tackle it all as soon as you wake up, because that's what your mind wants to do. It wants to go, oh man, I got to do this, that, and that, right? Something that's helped me, because I'm a procrastinator, is actually waking up a little earlier than I need to be. That way I'm not in a rush, right? Because all this stuff we're talking about with the playoffs, and they diminish their playbook because they don't want to be calling out so much stuff that you're confused about what's happening. Now we got to rush this play. I call it in. You know the play. We run it all the time. This is what we do. You know this formation. You're getting in it. It's limited distractions. Okay. Because being too hasty or in a rush can be a distraction also, right? So I like to always revert things back to how we grew up in the country. Highway 80. If you're going to Monroe from Rayville on Highway 80, it's a real dark road. A lot of deer running out at night. It's real dark, right? Even if you put your brights on, you see a couple 100 yards up ahead of you. You can't see from Rayville to Monroe on Highway 80 at night. All you can see is the 100 or so yards in front of you that the headlights give you, right? They don't mean you stop just because you can't see the destination yet. But that means all you need to focus on is right here. You need to be looking around, because on 80, something might run out in front of you. You might need to know when to brake. You know what I'm saying? But that's all you're doing. You just got this much in front of you. What you've done is you cut out distractions, because if you can see so far up ahead, you might get distracted on all that. The destination is there, but every inch counts. So when you get up in the morning, just think about the inches in front of you, right? It's real easy. I concentrate real hard on brushing my teeth. Real hard. Sometimes I even sing the song. Big old grown me. This is the way I brush my teeth, bro. Because it's making me concentrate. I'm just in right now. That's all I'm thinking about. I like to gargle and swish around peroxide first. Right. I like to I got 3 settings on my toothbrush. I'm gonna go through all 3 of them for about 20 seconds at a time. You know what I'm saying? Make sure I brush my tongue, do this. My beard routine. I have a whole routine that makes me be in right now. So if you can mitigate those thoughts that you're putting way out in front for the day and start concentrating on them as they come, it'll be a little better. It's kind of like football again. Our coaches used to always tell us, defense, you running out, it's 3rd and 1, Edgar. Before you can even think about how you're going to rush your man, what your assignment is, your defensive coaches are going to be hollering, ball key, meaning don't jump. Because if you jump, all that other stuff you was thinking about is null and void. You jump outside, you gave him a first, right? When I used to play center, I can't think about blocking this man and the play that's going to happen till I do what? Get the snap. If I don't get the snap to the quarterback, everything else is going crazy. Everything's in disarray now, right? Because I didn't focus on what I had to do first. So understand that you have steps and you may need to have routine in place to focus on one step at a time instead of trying to eat the whole elephant at once. Meal of an elephant can't be eaten in a day. You only be eating a bite at a time. So you need to concentrate on those bites. That's still, the goal can become a distraction when you're trying to think of it all as one goal. Think of it as pieces. Cut it down, mitigate it, right? They can talk about it, make it simpler. Slice it, dice it, one step at a time. To me, that helps me out a lot. And maybe if y'all apply it, try it in your own little way, it can help you out too.
That's good, Doc. That's good, man. And a couple more just tips, things we practice. Other one is so with social media for me and certain, let me say apps on my phone. What I do is I delete them off my phone. I delete them off my phone so that way I don't have instant access to them. So now what that makes me do is I have to go into the app store and download that app. But here's the key. When I'm going into the app store, the first thing I have to ask myself is, why am I going into the app store to download this app? Like, what's the why behind the way? My 3 rules are, am I posting today? Am I commenting? Or am I studying another speaker or a coach on social media that has something good that they share? If I'm not doing those 3 things, then I don't download it. So am I posting? Am I commenting? And am I studying another speaker and professional, another speaker or a coach? Here's the thing though, with the 3rd one, I got to put a timer on studying just more content. Because when I first started doing it, I was like, yeah, man, I'm just going to study. And as I'm looking at different speakers and different people that's storytelling, etc., man, that turned into about an hour and 20 minutes. So now what I do is I just put a 20-minute time frame on it, 20-minute clock. Boom. I'm gonna study this for 20 minutes. So if it's not one of those 3 things, I don't get on social media. The other thing I'll say is, and I run into this conversation with you, Court, that is managing my conversations. Man, there are some people in your life that, boy, y'all can stir up a good conversation when y'all get on the phone. You two could talk about a lot. And me and Courtney in the same way, man. We get on the phone and gotta be careful with it because we go down real rabbit holes about what we end up talking about. And there'd be some good content that come out of it. Typically, when I'm talking to them, man, there'll be about 2 or 3 ideas that came up as far as a video post I need to make, just based off literally saying one word or 2 words, or just saying something that you experienced driving down the street, and he'll give me something off of that. And that's cool to have. It's cool to have people in your life that you can have rich conversations with. I'm grateful to say there's a couple people in my life where I can have just real rich, organic conversations where we both making each other better. However, there's also things we got to do in a day. So if you have a focus as far as your goal and you got to focus on what you need to do, then you may not probably don't need to you probably don't need to go into that conversation right away with that friend that morning. Or maybe they calling you because they need to chat about something. I always look at it. What I've done is now if somebody's calling me about something they want to talk, saying, hey, I appreciate you wanting to share this with me. How about I give you a call back later on at 2 o'clock? Now, if it's urgent, like it's life, you need to talk to me, like, boom, let's talk. But if this is something that can wait, how about I give you a call back later on? And typically, for the most part, most individuals like, yeah, give me a shot back later on. So now, well, the next thing to that is I got to follow up on what I just said I was going to do. Make sure I get back to them. So managing your conversations, because it's easy to start off a conversation with a family member, a friend, college buddy, and y'all just go off the hinges and go. And you done looked up and you done burnt out a good 45 minutes, a good hour, and you already had something planned that you needed to do that day. You knew that was something you needed to take care of. So that conversation veered you off for about 45 minutes or an hour. So now you got to try to catch up with that. And it's not to say that you may not have something else that you got to take care of. The other thing I'll say last but not least, silence your notifications, man. I just got a new phone and I'm big on LinkedIn. And my notifications kept going on off on my phone through LinkedIn. And I was like, gosh dang, man, why I keep going off? And it kept showing me if somebody followed me or they commented. And then I just had that moment of realizing that, man, I didn't go into the notifications on my phone, actually turning notifications off. So limiting distractions, going to be very, very important for us, all of us, as we continue down this path of just being better in life and knocking down these goals and these things we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. To close out on my end, man, it's something Edgar does well, and he keeps a very detailed calendar. Uh, I'm not as meticulous as he is about it, but I have started to start to administer that in my own life as far as putting things on the calendar. And I know y'all probably gonna say, well, here you just said I only concentrate on what you're doing at the time. I did. And that calendar helps you do that because what you've done is you've delegated that task to a time slot. So now you know what time you have to give to this. So now Edgar might go as far as actually saying it at 5 a.m, meditate. At 5:30, do this. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that far into it, but when I do put those tasks out there and give it a time slot, it helps me not to start giving time to it before it's time. Right? It helps me to stay in that moment that I'm in. One of the main reasons you don't want to get too far off into distractions is because the opposite happens. If all you're into is distraction all the time, you begin to attract what you're into. Now, distract means pull away from, attract means pull to, at. Now, whatever that was is here with me now. So if you're wondering why I'm always distracted, it's because you attracted more distractions. Case in point, if you, let's see, now social media is full of scantily clad women. I say that. Right. We can go deep, porn, soft, whatever it is. If you keep watching that, something that's very important. It's called the algorithm. You hear it all the time now. Most people only associate the algorithm with the computer and with the phone and what it's pulling, what the internet's pulling back towards you. If Egg and I are searching for boots, we're looking at boots all the time. Well, guess what our ads gonna start throwing us? Boots. You open that phone, I don't care what site you're on, it's gonna be a little ad somewhere from Tecovas, if somebody's throwing you some boots, because that algorithm on the phone is saying, hey, this is what he's been searching and looking at and thinking about. Well, there's a bigger algorithm, and there's one in here in the universe. We're all connected to a higher source. You have the power to attract. There's laws. There's books about it. It's talked about all the time, biblically and beyond, laws of attraction. Your algorithm will start to pull to you what you do mostly. There's another word for what you do a lot of. That's what you do frequently. What you do frequently is your frequency because that's all it is. And if you're on that frequency, you tuned into that channel, guess what you're going to be picking up all the time? You're telling your antenna to bring it. Bring it. Bring it. So if you can get to a point where you can start to cut all that out and focus and meditate on what it is you actually want to do, what you're actually trying to do, if you can focus on that, now you're gonna start to attract everything that you need to get that done versus attracting more distraction. That's why this is so important, right? Let's work, meditate. Just means to focus intensely on, to clear your mind so you can think about one thing. So you can start to do that outwardly too. But mainly it's the internal. If you can start to be thoughtful, because that's what this all gets back to. The internet is like your mind. There's some thoughts you can't do nothing about. They fly across so fast, you're like, what? Why did I even think that? What the hell? You know what I'm saying? They shooting off all day. The greats, what we've been pressing on, the great people are able to pull a thought out of the air, set it in front, and let all that other stuff pass by, right? The internet got all this other stuff. Your phone got all this other stuff. If you can slow all that down and just pick what you need, like Edgar said, if he wants to go put that app back on the phone, he has to ask himself some questions. Why am I putting this back on the phone? Am I posting today? Okay, if I'm going to post, I'm going to give myself 30 minutes to post what I need to post. Once I see it's uploaded, I'm taking it back off. That's him being thoughtful. All right, that's him meditating on what he needs to do. That's him distinguishing what the objective is for the day, why I'm doing it, right? So that's what I say, man. Be careful not to get distracted, so you want to attract more distractions. That's my advice. That's all I got, Doc.
And I close it out with this. How could you limit your distractions? How could you limit your distractions? Remember, your competition isn't your enemy, your distractions are.
Well, it's the L.I.T Code. We'll see y'all later.